Today I would like to talk about protection. We all seek protection in our life. We want to have a life that is protected, and we do much to protect ourselves in life. We buy insurance, for example, to protect against potential dangers. We build walls, we build fences to protect against dangers. So, whose life is really protected? This is the question. One time, the king of Kosala, King Pasenadi, was in the presence of the Buddha, and he raised this question. He said to the Buddha, "It occurred to me, whose life is unprotected? And, O Buddha, it occurred to me that people who do wrong by action, who do wrong by way of speech, who do wrong by way of their thoughts or planning, their lives are unprotected. Although there may be an army of elephant troops, there may be a cavalry or chariots or foot soldiers protecting them, they are unprotected. Why is this? It is because this protection is external and not internal. There are those who do good by way of body, who do good by way of speech, who do good by way of their thought or planning. Those people's life is protected. Although they may have no elephant troops, no cavalry, no chariots, no foot soldiers protecting them, their lives are protected. Why is this? It is because their protection is internal, not external. The Buddha replied, "It is just like this, O great king. It is just as you say." And the Buddha went on to deliver a verse in Pali, which I'll just recite the Pali. Kayena samvaro sadhu, sadhu vachaya samvaro, manasa samvaro sadhu, sadhu sabata samvaro, sabata samvuto lajji, rakito ti pavojjati. It is good to be guarded by way of one's action. It is good to be guarded by way of speech. It is good to be guarded by way of the mind. It is good to be guarded always. The person who has moral shame and moral fear, who is always guarded with this, is said to be truly protected. The one who performs wrong deeds is unprotected, and the one who performs good deeds is protected. Therefore, we should know what are these wrong deeds, and also what are these good deeds. So the misdeeds that leave us unprotected when we do them are the acts of killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. These bodily acts, when we do them, they leave us unprotected. And by way of speech, the type of speech that leaves us unprotected is lying, harsh speech, slander, and idle talk. And by way of mind, the things that leave us unprotected are planning to take what belongs to others unjustly, thoughts of cruelty or harming others, and having wrong views. So I know that people, I probably don't have an audience of murderers in the room, but so some of these deeds are very obviously wrong to people here. But what the problem is that when people don't see what is wrong with an action, then it's easier for them to do it. So I just want to talk about the importance of seeing what is wrong with these types of actions, speech, and thought. So just to take the very obvious one of killing. What happens if a person commits murder? What will happen to that person? What will happen to anyone, you or me, if we commit a murder? So one thing that can happen right away is that we can feel a lot of regret for having done something like that. We blame ourselves if we do something that's extremely wrong like that. And then others will blame us too. That's the second one. Blame will receive the blame of others, especially the wise. And people can take revenge against us. The family of the victim could take revenge. Then we could be prosecuted under the law, arrested, taken to jail, imprisoned for a long time. Some people are even executed for committing murder. So these are the types of, so not only blame by ourselves for what we did, blame of others, and then also prosecution under the law, or reaction, the attack from the victim's family. So it's obvious that there are many bad results that we get quite soon from committing an act like that. And then, of course, it doesn't stop there. People, it creates suffering for us in the future as well. So for people who understand that there's cause and effect, this powerful act continues to have effects in the future. So we can see what would happen to us if we did an action like that. And that can make us feel like we would shrink. We would be either afraid to do it because we don't want to endure the consequences, or we don't want to do something that disgusting. So this is the type of understanding the fault of doing this action. Then if we have a healthy response to it, we will either be disgusted by doing such a gross wrongdoing, or we will be afraid to have the consequences that come with it, or both. So this is one of the things that keeps people from committing wrong, this sense of shame about the act, or the sense of fear. In fact, this sense of moral shame and moral fear it's called the guardian dhammas of the world, because they keep us from doing wrong. And this protects our individual world. And with that, it also keeps the world around us peaceful. But another way that people come to restrain themselves from wrongdoing is to think about how they would feel if they themselves were to be hurt. If we all think about it, well, how would I feel if someone were trying to murder me? How would I feel? Well, you wouldn't like it. So when people understand, when they start to see, oh, I wouldn't like it, and other people are the same way, they don't want to have to endure this, So understanding, by knowing how we feel, we can understand how others would feel in that situation. And this also is a factor that can make people restrain themselves. They don't want to inflict harm on another because they understand how it would feel. So this type of consideration for others, Kojin Satya for Sandra, is this feeling for how others would feel is another factor, as I just said. So when we look at an action and we know that we wouldn't want to suffer it ourselves, we can be pretty sure that this is an unjust thing to do that shouldn't be done. So we can think about it, about the other gross misdeeds, the physical misdeeds and verbal ones in the same way. Stealing. How do I feel if I steal something? And how do I feel if someone steals from me? We can think about stealing in the same way. So if I were to steal something, I would probably be afraid that someone is going to find out, and having to live with that. What's going to happen when the person finds out? What's going to happen to me then? And then the same types of dangers as before, the danger of blaming yourself for the act, blame from others, being prosecuted if it's serious enough, having the reaction of the person who was harmed, and then the karmic dangers of stealing. And then I'll just repeat that, the actions that we should refrain from are killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, basically adultery. Then by way of speech, lying, harsh speech, slander, and idle speech. Regarding lying, telling lies, or harsh speech, probably most people understand what that type of speech is just from hearing the word. But regarding slander and idle talk, sometimes people don't know what those mean. And I'm using the word slander. It's actually probably not legally slander, but this is the way it gets translated into English from the Pali. What is meant by slander is really divisive speech. Say you have a group or two friends, people who are friendly, and say, for example, I want one of those people to be friendly with me and not that other person. So what would I do? I go to one person and I say something bad about the other that is not true. And then I go to the second person of the pair, and say something bad about their friend. So I try to get the two of them to hate each other by telling them something untrue. This is wrong speech. This is what in the Buddhist text they mean by slander. It's divisive speech. And then idle speech. This is speech that brings neither you nor the listener any benefit, whether it's in a worldly sense or in a spiritual sense. It's speech that won't help you make money, it won't bring you any material benefit, and it won't help you progress spiritually. So this speech is idle speech. So here we are keeping sila, and this is something to be happy about. Not only are we keeping 5 precepts, which means that we are not committing any of the actions that I just mentioned, and we're not committing any of the speech that I just mentioned. So when we keep sila, it makes our lives peaceful, because we don't have the problems that come from wrong actions, wrong speech, or wrong mental activity, should I say. So actually, I should rephrase that. It prevents us from having the problems that come from wrong actions and wrong speech. It doesn't control our mind, but it eliminates a lot of problems to keep sila, because our actions and our speech are pure. So when one keeps moral precepts, one comes to see that it makes life peaceful, and one comes to appreciate having this type of peaceful life, and therefore one wants to keep on observing sila. One wants to make one's commitment to good actions and good speech better and better. This is my experience anyhow. And keeping good morality is not just for our own benefit. It benefits others too, because others are protected from being harmed when we refrain from doing wrong. So it's victory on both sides, both for others and for ourselves. It's very good. So keeping sila causes us to have more concern for other people. We see that by our restraint, other people are also protected, and we come to have more appreciation for others and more wish for their welfare. In the Buddhist text, sila and morality and wisdom, or sila and panya, are compared to two hands. That when we wash our hands, we use one hand to wash the other. And in the same way, our morality helps our wisdom to become pure. And our wisdom helps our morality to become pure. Here, in addition to keeping the 5 precepts, we also take 3 other precepts. That we don't eat food after noon. We refrain from beautification, entertainment, and adornment, and we don't sleep on a high and luxurious bed, in addition to keeping celibacy, as opposed to refraining from adultery. We refrain from sexual activity completely. So these are actions. Keeping this level of sila is a refinement that supports concentration. To keep the 8 precepts versus keeping the 5 precepts supports concentration. So this is why we do it. So this is very good to keep this level of sila that we are observing. And from here, we need to work on concentration and wisdom. Sila is, our morality is the basis for concentration to develop. We can think about how it will be if we have a commitment to keeping morality, but our mind is uncontrolled. If our mind is thinking about things that it wants, if the mind is thinking about committing wrong acts, harming others, stealing things, figuring out how to get someone to like me and leave her boyfriend or whatever. If our mind is busy with wanting things, wanting to do actions, wanting to break sila, then our life won't be very comfortable. So we need to go the next step to concentrate the mind. Because otherwise, there's the danger that our morality can be broken if there's too much greed in our mind, if there's too much anger, or if we're confused. So we build concentration by doing the practice that we are doing now. And the basic method, as you all know, in sitting, to try to observe the rising and the falling of the abdomen, when it happens, to try to be with it. Keep the mind there when the rising happens. Keep the mind there when the falling happens. So, although we try to observe this object of the rising and the falling of the abdomen, our mind doesn't stay where we put it. So, it's because our mindfulness, concentration are not strong enough yet. So although we put the mind on the abdomen, it leaves. We just have to keep on bringing it back. So when we can make the effort to put the mind on the rising, to put the mind on the falling, even if we don't know anything yet, we're just getting the mind there and being with the rising, being with the falling, it's still very good because the mind is not going somewhere else. Every time we make the effort to observe the object, there's mindfulness that is being brought to the object. But at first that is weak and we aren't aware of it. But if we keep on trying, we just have to keep on trying to observe. I can't emphasize how important that is, to try to just keep on trying even though it doesn't feel like we're accomplishing very much. But it's not just making effort to observe also. We need to try to catch the rising from the very beginning and keep it there till the end. So we also need to aim our mind properly at the object so that it is there right at the beginning of when the action happens. So these two factors, making effort to observe the object and aiming so that we catch the object neither too soon nor too late, are what we need to apply each time the abdomen rises, each time the abdomen falls. When there's thinking, note that, same way, bring the mind back. So eventually this effort will bring stronger and stronger concentration, stronger and stronger mindfulness. Mindfulness will bring concentration, and this one will be able to experience how the mind, one will be able to experience the benefits of protecting one's mind in that way. So tonight I have tried to talk about internal protection, and I hope that all of you, by practicing, taking the time to come here and practice meditation intensively, that you will be able to develop protection in your lives and reach the highest goal, Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.